Hello everyone, this is Dhruv from Edureka and I welcome you all to this session where I will be talking about Azure virtual machines. So without any further ado, let's take a look at today's agenda. So we will start this session by first understanding why one needs an Azure virtual machine. Then what actually Azure's virtual machine is. Moving ahead, we will understand some of the key features of Azure virtual machine and an elaborated architecture of it as well. Lastly, we are going to try our hands on Azure Virtual Machine, like how to create it and how to connect with it. And we will wrap up this session by understanding the pricing criteria of Azure Virtual Machine. So before we begin, do consider subscribing to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon to stay updated on trending technologies. And also, if you are interested in online training certification in Microsoft Azure, check out the link given in the description box below. So let's start this session by first understanding why one needs Azure Virtual Machine. So first thing is of course the cost saving, the pricing criteria. So we can like shut down and stop the virtual machines if not in use. Stopped virtual machine will not incur any charge. Restarting the virtual machine will maintain its state based on persistent disks. Second, the boosted scalability. So we can like scale up and down or in and out the virtual machines. Auto scale features is also there to support based on some metrics. For example, scale out to 5 instances when CPU utilization is greater than 70% for more than 5 minutes. Third is alerts. So like we can trigger actions and alerts based on metrics of computing resources consumed by virtual machine. Fourth is we can have a better control or say more amount of control. So with Azure Virtual Machines, developer have more control over the development environment, which is very helpful in case of building a highly secure architecture for a complex solution. Developers can choose operating system, networking, storage connections, etc. to build a sandbox solution. Lastly, easy diagnostics means Azure Virtual Machine provides the facility to troubleshoot issues with options like remote debugging, event logs, IIS logs, application logs, etc. Moving ahead, let's understand in brief what is Azure Virtual Machine. So for that, we are going to first understand what is a virtual machine. So a virtual machine is a computer file typically called as an image which behaves like an actual computer. It is one of the files which contains everything. It runs in Windows, Linux, etc. This gives you a flexibility that you can run multiple machines in a physical computer. Each system can have a different operating system. Each of these virtual machines provide its own virtual hardware, which includes CPUs, memory, hard drives, network interfaces, and other such devices. Now let's understand what is Azure Virtual Machine. So Azure Virtual Machine is one of the services provided by Azure to create your own instances. So it can be used for various ways like development and test, applications in the cloud, and also for extended data center. It is to remember that when you are running Azure Virtual Machine, you must pay for the compute time on a per minute basis. The pricing of this is based on the size, operating system, and any licensed software that has been installed in it. In order to avoid corresponding charges when you are not using it, it is to be saying that you change its state to stopped, that is deallocated. Now let's understand some of the key features of Azure Virtual Machine. So first is isolation. So each of these network work independently. When creating a virtual network, you can divide them into segments. You can configure the virtual network to use your own DNS servers. Second is virtual network connectivity. So it can be connected to each other, enabling resources in any virtual network to communicate with resources in any other virtual network. Third is internet communication. So by default, when you are launching any instances in the Azure virtual machine, it can access the internet. As and when you need, you can enable inbound access to specific resources. Fourth is on-premises connectivity. So a virtual network can be connected to an on-premises network, enabling resources to communicate between each other. Then there is Azure's resource communication. So resources which falls under Azure Virtual Network can communicate with each other using private IP addresses, irrespective of the resources are from different subnets. They provide default routing between subnets. On-premise networks operating system, you don't have to configure and manage routes. So the next one is routing. So Azure's routing can be optionally overridden by default through configuring with your own routes or by propagating BGP routes through network gateway. And the last one is traffic filtering. So network traffic can be filtered from resources in a virtual network by source IP addresses and port. So now let's understand the Azure virtual machine architecture. Azure was like initially named as the project Red Dog by Microsoft. The brain behind the project Red Dog is Mr. David Cutler. In initial days, it was a custom version of Windows, and the goal was to boot from a virtual hard disk. So for that, let's first try to understand the main components of Azure Virtual Machine. So first is Fabric Controller. So one of the most important components in Azure Virtual Machine architecture is this is one of the pillars based on which the architecture works. Fabric Controller basically owns all the resources, the placement of the nodes, load balancing, scalability as per requirement, update, patch management. Everything is owned by this segment. As the user creates their own instance of virtual machine, all the tasks like provisioning or the deprovisioning along with the supervision of all the nodes is taken care by the Fabric controller. In brief, we can say that this is the backbone of the Azure virtual machine system. So next is the patch management. So patch management workflow is a major advantage of the Azure system, as this module makes Azure easy to manage and stay updated across all the nodes. In Azure system, hosts are image based, therefore there is no need to update all the nodes one by one like a legacy system. Here, Azure basically delivers updated VHT at one place and the entire system of nodes gets updated. A typical update takes place every 4 to 6 weeks, which ensures security and system stabilization. Microsoft here ensures that the updates are tested and verified before it gets rolled out to the nodes. Third is partition. So Azure Fabric Controller has a couple of partition types, and they are update domains, fault domains. These partitions help Azure Virtual Machine to maintain its availability and resilience. The partitioning helps maintain zero downtime, minimum failures, and constant availability. So the first is update domains and partition. That is, it is the strategy that ensures the upgradation of the servers without taking it down. Then Microsoft Azure system distributes instances into a few update domains. Here, every update domains work as a logical unit. One update domain gets upgraded at a time. The upgrade process gets completed when all the update domains are processed. Azure makes sure that the upgrade is completed with the minimum impact on the running services. Then there is fault domains. Fault domain is nothing but a single failure point. Fabric controller ensures that isolated hardware failure does not happen by distributing the instances to multiple fault domains. This will prevent the malfunctioning of the system due to any single component malfunction. Then there is Azure Compute Stamps. So Azure divide things into multiple stamps, and each stamp has its individual Fabric controller. Azure has two kinds of stamps: compute stamps and storage stamps. The Fabric controller is also distributed in multiple branches. Azure generally has five replicas of a Fabric controller, and they are all in synchronization to replicate the state. In these five instances, one is primary and the information is passed to primary by the control panel. Now, primary instances make sure that same instruction has been passed to the secondary instances. Now, the last one are like some other virtual machine components. So, apart from these, there are three other important components of Azure Virtual Machine. They are computer, storage, and networking. So Microsoft Azure also has the capability to monitor the health of the virtual machines in place, and if any issue is found, there is an option to auto recovery. This service is known as service healing. As the Fabric controller has the capability to detect the failure, therefore this task is carried out by the Fabric controller to detect failure and trigger auto recovery. So this was all about the components of like the main components of Azure Virtual Machine. Now let's understand the architecture of how to run a Windows virtual machine on Azure. So provisioning a virtual machine in Azure requires some additional components beside the virtual machine itself, including networking and storage resources, as we recently talked about the other virtual machine components. So let's understand this step by step. The first is the resource group. Resource group is a logic container that holds related Azure resources. In general, group resources based on their lifetime and who will manage them. Then there is a virtual machine. So you can provision a virtual machine from a list of published images or from a custom managed image or virtual hard disk, like what we say as VHD file, uploaded to Azure Blob Storage. So Azure offers many different virtual machine sizes. If you are moving an existing workload to Azure, start with the virtual machine size that's the closest match to your on-premises server. Then measure the performance of your actual workload in terms of CPU memory and disk or input or output operations per second and adjust the size as needed. So generally choose an Azure region that is the closest to your internal users or customers. Not all virtual machine sizes are available in all regions, so keep that in mind. Then there are disks. So For best disk input output performance, we recommend like premium storage for that. Go with premium storage, which stores data on solid state drives, means SSDs. So cost is based on the capacity of the provision disk. IOPS and throughput also depend on disk size. So when you provision disk, consider all the factors like capacity, IOPS, and throughput. We also recommend using managed disks. So managed disks simplify disk management by handling the storage for you. Managed disks do not require a storage account. You simply specify the size and type of disk, and it is deployed as a highly available resource. The operating system disk is a virtual hard drive stored in Azure storage, so it persists even when the host machine is down. We also recommend creating one or more data disks which are persistent. So virtual hard disks used for application data. When possible, install applications on a data disk, not the operating system disk. So some legacy applications might need to install components on the C drive. In that case, you can like resize the operating system disk using PowerShell. The virtual machine is also created with a temporary disk. This disk is stored on a physical drive on the host machine. It is not saved in Azure storage and may be deleted during reboots and other virtual machine lifecycle events. Use this disk only for temporary data such as page or swap files. Then there is a network. So the networking components includes the following resources like virtual network. So every virtual machine is deployed into a virtual network that can be segmented into multiple subnets. Then there is network interface. In short, we say it as NIC. The NIC enables the virtual machine to communicate with the virtual network. So if you need multiple NICs for your VM, be aware that maximum number of NICs is defined for each virtual machine size. Then there's public IP address. A public IP address is needed to communicate with the virtual machine. For example, via remote desktop means RDP. So the public IP address can be dynamic or static. The default is dynamic. Then there is a network security group, where we say at NSG, which are used to allow or deny network traffic to virtual machines. NSGs can be associated either with subnets or with individual virtual machine instances. Then there are certain operations, so that includes diagnostics. So enable monitoring and diagnostics, including basic health metrics, diagnostics, infrastructure logs, and boot diagnostics. So boot diagnostics can help you diagnose boot failure if your virtual machine gets into a non-bootable state. Create an Azure storage account to store the logs. A standard locally redundant storage account is sufficient for diagnostic logs. Then there's availability. So your virtual machine can be maybe affected by planned maintenance or unplanned downtime. You can use virtual machine reboot logs to determine whether a virtual machine reboot was caused by planned maintenance. For higher availability, deploy multiple virtual machines in an availability set. Then there are backups to protect against accidental data loss. So use the Azure backup service to back up your virtual machines to geo-redundant storage. Azure backup provides like application consistent backups. Then there is a stopping a virtual machine. So Azure makes a distinction between stopped and deallocated states. You are charged when the virtual machine status is stopped, but not when the virtual machine is deallocated. In the Azure portal, the stop button deallocates the virtual machine. If you shut down through the operating system while logged in, the virtual machine is stopped but not deallocated. So you will still be charged. Then there is deleting a virtual machine. So if you delete a virtual machine, the virtual hard drives are not deleted. That means you can safely delete the virtual machine without losing data. However, you will be charged for storage. To delete the virtual hard drive, delete the file from blob storage to prevent accidental deletion as a resource lock to lock the entire resource group or like lock individual resources such as virtual machine. So this is all about the major components and how they work in synchronization with each other to form a virtual machine. So this is how the architecture looks like and how it works of Azure Virtual Machine. Now that we have a theoretical as well as an architectural understanding of Azure Virtual Machine, let's try our hands on it on how to create a virtual machine and how to connect it. So you can just go to the Azure portal. Here you see all the services which you have recently used, and you can just directly go search for virtual machines from here. Go to the virtual machines. Here you see there's no virtual machine being created till now, so you can just go to create. So subscription Azure Labs we have, and then resource group we have to give. If you already have a resource group, just give or create a new one from here. Resource. You can give a name as well. I'm going to give VM demo 01. Area is Central India, so yeah, region I'm choosing Central India, which is nearest to me.
and also my consumers are nearest to me. That's the region I'm selecting. So always keep in mind while you select the region, select the region which is near to you and also to your consumers. Then in availability options, requirements, security type standard, Windows 2009 data center generation 2, right? Azure, no, not required. Size, then we have to choose. Yeah, I can go with B1 or you can like select any other size. You can see for all the sizes. So you can select any one of them. Like right now I'm using B1. I can use B2s as well. So I will just select B2s. That has two virtual CPUs and 4 GB of memory. Then I will be creating a username. So Azure admin is good for me. And I will give a username as well. It should be alphanumeric along with special character with one capital letters as well. So keep that in mind while creating the password. Password meshed. So let's go to the next step. Public and more not selected. Allow selected report. So RDP 3389 you have to select if it's not selected. So yeah, now let's go to the disk. No thanks, not required. Then select whichever is viable for you, like SSD or HDD standard one. It also like the price is also dependent on which option you are going with. So I'm going with standard SSD right now. Next, networking. Nothing is required. If you want to change anything as per your requirement, you can change that to management. Auto shutdown. If you require enable, like if you enable auto shutdown, it will auto shutdown. That's depend on you. Right now, I don't require that. So go to the next one. Extensions and everything is there. So I'm selecting an extension here for myself. You can also like select which one is required for you. I require Microsoft entire malware. Go next. So then I just have to create that. So I've created next text. If you want to add any text, you can. It's up to you. And then you can just go to review and create. So here you will actually get the price. Right now I'm not getting because I have a different kind of an company based account. But if you have any personal account, then you will be getting the total price of your virtual machine you're going to host, right? So you can recheck all the information you've selected for, all the services you have been selected, sub services, and then you can create it. So the virtual machine is getting deployed. So here you can see deployment to resource group is in progress. So now you can see the deployment is complete. So you can just go to your resource from here. Let's see what all is created. We can see a virtual machine is created, public IP address is there, a network security group is created for security purposes, then there's network interface being created, then a storage disk is being created, and as well as the virtual network. As we have understood, all these things are required in virtual machine architecture. You've understood, right? So that's all being created. So we can go to a virtual machine. Now you can see here status, it is running right now. Location, every the region location, you can see it's showing Central India, and you can see the public IP address as well here. So all this is here. You can actually like copy the public IP address and directly connect it through your remote desktop connection by pasting it here and connecting it, or you can just go to connect and go to RDP, and here you can like download the RDP file, the personal RDP file. Just for that one thing, remember you have to go back to that. You have to copy the IP for that. So you can see the IP is copied. So let's open the RDP. Yeah, go to connect. Yeah, so for that same IP, the RDP has been downloaded, so we don't require IP to paste. So you can just give the username and ID that we have given while creating the virtual machine. So that was Edureka. And then the password credentials. Yes. So we have created the virtual machine and now we have connected it as well. So here is your service manager which has been opened, and here how your virtual machine has been created. So virtual computer has been created. Here you can see the dashboard, all the things like add roles and features, whatever you want to add. And get from here, or you can create a local server given all the requirements. You can create a local server as well and come to this PC. And here you can see all like this is the storage. You have got temporary storage and main program storage. So this is how we can connect the virtual machine. I hope you have understood it. So stop this session. Yeah. So I've closed the virtual machine and I can even stop it from here. If I go here and stop, so that it stops, like the charging cycle gets stopped. You won't be charged for running the virtual machine. Here, so through this we can like save our cost. It is under process. It is getting stopped. Takes a little while. See, you can see the status as deallocating. means reallocating means it's getting stopped. So you can see it's successfully stopped, and after that you can even delete the virtual machine. So the virtual machine is getting deleted, and through this billing cycle was still going on for because we had a virtual machine with us, so it got deleted. So virtual machine is, you can see, is deleted. Still other things are still there. If you want to delete the resource group as well, you can completely delete the resource group. You just have to type the resource group name. So delete. So all the services which are being under this will be deleted along with the resource group. So you can see and just come to home, and now you can see there's no, okay, let me go to the VM resource. The resource not found because it got deleted. Okay, let me refresh it once again. So yeah, there's no resource group anymore. So this is all about the virtual machine and how to create it, as well as how to delete it, and all the concepts behind it. So next is the pricing options. So for pricing option, you can just simply go for Azure Virtual Machine pricing. Let's see the pricing structure, how the pricing works for Azure Virtual Machine. You can see, like, you can select whatever the operating system you want to choose. You can choose that from here. Just a sec. Yeah, everything is there. You can choose as per your requirement. Like right now going with I'm going with Windows OS only, and category I can choose like whichever I want to. Right now I'm choosing general purpose only. Pricing is getting updated here. You can see BS series, AV2 in the standard, D2A assistant, all standards are there. On the basis of that, pricing differs. And now if I choose the VM, just a second, Windows OS, choose the category that is general purpose. Then I have to choose the VM series. It is suppose I'm gonna choose BS series, and then the region. Suppose I choose mine Central India. Currency, no in rupees or dollars. It's up to you. Like suppose I'm going with dollar only right now. I'm displaying prices by hour or by month. You can see, and then you can come to see the prices, right? For B1s, because we have choose the B1s, right? BS series. So B1s, that is the price dollar wise. Similarly, if you could go with a different series, like suppose we say this V5, then you can see the prices got changed. This is how it gets changed. So this is how you can look for the prices and go as per your requirement. So with this, we come to the end of today's session of Azure Virtual Machine tutorial. I hope you had a great time learning and understanding about it. And if you have any query, please feel free to leave them down in the comment section below. Until next time, thank you.
I hope you have enjoyed listening to this video. Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries, and we will reply them at the earliest. Do look out for more videos in our playlist and subscribe to Edureka channel to learn more. Happy learning!